Okay, so what is today's date?
5 ma'am.
5th of July. Okay. And today we're going to start unit 5. Okay. That is states of matter. States of matter, gaseous and liquids. Okay. Gaseous and liquids. See, in our previous chapters, okay, in all our previous chapters, we have learned. We have learned the properties related to a single particle of the matter. Okay, just like structure of atom, you can say, bonding, you can say. So we all have learned the single properties of matter. But most of the observable properties of matter, right? Those are the properties are observable. So most of the observable properties of the matter are mainly the bulk properties. Okay, bulk properties. Most of the observable properties of the matters are bulk properties. Why? Because bulk property means what? Bulk properties are those when the various molecules are associated with, they are collected with, and showing a single properties. That is the bulk properties, and these bulk properties are very much important. Okay, because we can actually see these and it helps us to understand how the world works. Okay, we can't see that one molecule of water is boiling. No, we can't see that one molecule of water is boiling. No, what we can see that a bulk of water is boiling. We cannot see that one molecule of water has the property to weight a substance. It is the bulk molecule. It is a associated water molecule. Suppose millions of water molecules are associated, and then they shows the weighting properties. Okay, so that's why bulk properties are very important, and we have to learn the bulk properties now. So so in this present unit, we will learn the bulk properties of materials, and the behavior arises from the bulk properties of materials. So these are the things we will learn in this chapter. So first thing, the things we have to learn, that is the how many states of matter are there?
3 states.
Mainly three states. Mainly three states, and the states are solid, liquid, and gas, right? Solid, liquid, and gas. Yes or no? So what are the properties of a solid state? A solid state mainly possesses a definite size. Okay, they have definite shape. They are mainly rigid, right? Examples, solids examples are like various metals are the examples of solids. Now, if we consider liquids, liquids are, they have a definite volume, but they don't have definite shape. Yes or no? Liquid doesn't have a definite shape, but they have a definite volume. And if we consider gas, okay, if we consider gas, they doesn't have definite shape or definite volume. Okay, the gases are occupy the whole the vessel in which it is kept. Yes or no? So these are the properties are clear, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, here one thing you have to, it is important things you have to remember, that is triple point. What is triple point? Okay, the temperature the temperature at which all the three phases of the same substance of the same substance exist simultaneously is called triple point. Okay, so that means the temperature at which all the three phases of a same substance can exist, that temperature is actually known as triple points. So this thing you have to remember. Now we are moving to the our important topic, that is intermolecular forces and intramolecular forces. Okay, intermolecular force and intramolecular force. See here, so intramolecular means bonding force. What are intramolecular force? Intra means the force exists within each molecule. That is intramolecular, exists within each molecule. Okay, so that is intramolecular. And what is intermolecular? That is force exists between the molecules. Okay, so that means suppose we consider water. Suppose we consider water, H2O. Okay, so the bonding takes place between hydrogen, oxygen, and hydrogen. This bonding is intramolecular bonding, intramolecular force of attraction. Okay, and what is intermolecular? When two water molecules attracting each other. When two water molecules attracting each other, that is intermolecular. Clear? Intra and intermolecular? Intramolecular is, suppose if I consider water, when hydrogen and oxygen, this bonding, when oxygen atom is attracted by, or they are from bond between two hydrogen atoms, that is intramolecular. And when two water molecule attract each other, that is intermolecular. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So intermolecular forces. Okay. What is intermolecular forces? The forces of attraction and repulsion between the interacting particles are called intermolecular forces. Okay, the forces of attraction, repulsion between, suppose if I consider two water molecule like this, the attraction between them, the repulsion between them is known as intermolecular forces. And the thing is that these intramolecular forces are weak force. They are generally very weak force. Okay, they are generally very weak force. Now the thing is that why these intermolecular force is being a weak force, why they are important, why we have to learn. Now the thing is that why we have to learn the intermolecular forces, and from where that intermolecular forces idea has come. See, the non-polar molecules like suppose hydrogen, then oxygen, then chlorine. Okay, they can remain in solid state, they can remain in liquid state, and they can remain in gaseous states also, and they can be easily liquefied. So if the attraction between the molecule, is not there, then how they can remain in solid state, gaseous state, and how they can be liquefied. One more thing, the noble gases, just like helium, neon. Okay, noble gases, just like helium, neon, argon. Okay, we know that they are noble. Why they are noble gas? Anyone have idea? Helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon, they are noble gas. Okay, they're known as noble gases. Why? Anyone have any idea? No one? They are
Ma'am, they are stable.
stable. Yes. So mainly they are stable. They are very much stable. Okay, and they does not react with other atom. They does not react with other atom to form the compounds. Okay, so that's why. But this gas can also be liquefied. So when a gas is being liquefied, means the attraction between the molecules have to be take place. So from where that attraction came, okay, from where that attraction came, that attraction is actually known as intermolecular forces. Okay, that attractions are mainly known as intermolecular forces, and this intermolecular force was first proposed by Dutch scientist, Johannes van der Waals. Okay, Johannes van der Waals, and from his name, these are the forces. These intermolecular forces are known as van der Waals forces. These intermolecular forces are known as van der Waals forces. Okay, van der Waals forces. There are 4 types of van der Waals forces are there. Number 1, dispersion force. Or London force. Okay. Then number 2, dipole force. Okay. Number 3, induced dipole force. And number 4, hydrogen bonding. Clear? So there are 4 types of van der Waals forces are there. First one is dispersion force or London force, then dipole force, then induced dipole force, and then hydrogen bonding. So now we are going to learn in detail about all the forces. That means dispersion force, dipole force, induced dipole force, and hydrogen bonding. Okay. Clear? Till this much clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the first is dispersion force dispersion forces and London forces. What is that? Suppose two molecules are there. Okay. Suppose this is atom A. This is atom A. And this is atom B. Okay, and these two atoms are remaining very close to each other, and these two atoms are neutral. Okay, neutral. Okay, you can say these two atoms is neutral. That means no electron charge is there because they have symmetrical distribution of charge. Symmetrical distribution of charge they have, this one. So that's why they are neutral, uncharged. Okay, that means the electron cloud are symmetrically distributed. Okay, electron clouds are symmetrically distributed in case of both the atoms. That's why they are neutral, they are uncharged. But as we know that the electrons are continuously moving. Okay, so that due to the motion of electrons, suppose for a fraction of a time, okay, suppose for a fraction of a time, the electron charge of atom A, okay, just for a fraction of a time, the electron charge of atom A become unsymmetrical like this. Okay, become unsymmetrical. That means charge cloud is become more in one side, okay, than the other side. So here a negative charge will develop. That means a dipole will develop. A negative charge will develop this here. That means a dipole will develop this side. And because of this dipole, as the atom B is related is in closer proximity of atom A, its electron cloud, okay, its electron cloud also become unsymmetrical. Okay, its electron cloud is also become unsymmetrical. Okay, now to opposite dipole, now the attraction force is taking place. So at first, both the atoms are neutral. They both have symmetrical charge distribution. For a fraction of a second, atom A, the charge distribution become unsymmetrical. So a dipole it's developed. Okay, so when it's developed dipole, this dipole is known as instantaneous dipole. Okay, this dipole is known as instantaneous dipole. This dipole is known as instantaneous dipole. So because of the formation of this instantaneous dipole, okay, the atom which is remain in its close proximity, its electrical charge distribution is also become unsymmetrical and a dipole develop. Okay, this development of dipole is known as instantaneous induced dipole. Okay, okay, so this is known as instantaneous induced dipole. Okay, so this type of force is known as dispersion force and London force, and this type force was first discovered by German physicist Fritz London. So according to his name, this force is also known as London force. Clear regarding London force? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone? Arithro, then Abhinavo, Biprodeep.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh?
Yes, miss.
London
Yes,
force
ma'am.
clear? Okay. Now, London force is always an attractive force, not a repulsive force. It is an attractive force, and the interaction energy due to the force is proportional to the sixth power of the distance between the two interacting particles. So it is the actually interaction energy is proportional to the this one. Okay, and this London force is depend on the polarizability of a molecule. Do you know what is polarizability? Do you have any idea what is the meaning of polarizability? Polarizability
No,
means
miss.
how easy, how easy the electron distribution, the electron cloud of an atom being unsymmetrical. Okay, the polarizability of an atom or a molecule is the measure of the ease with which the electrons and nuclei can be displaced from their average position. That means the electron charge distribution, the electron cloud, how easily they can become unsymmetrical, okay, how easily they can become distorted. That is known as polarizability. So high polarizability means high polarizability means they can easily distort their electron cloud, and more stronger will be London force. Okay, high polarizability means high polarizability of an atom means London force will also become high. Okay, now London force mainly depend on three factors. First is size of the molecule. Second is number of electrons present. Third is molecular structure. Okay, so these are the factors on which London force depends. If the size of the molecules are big, number of electrons big, so obviously London force will be high. If the number of electrons is very high, so that means and the electron cloud can easily be distorted, and it is depend on in molecular structure also. Now our next topic is dipole force. Dipole or chiasm. Okay, dipole forces, or you can say chiasm forces. What is the meaning of dipole? If I consider one example of HCl, Cl is electronegative element, we know. So because of this electronegative element, okay, it has a partial charge. It has a partial negative charge because it's a highly electronegative element, whereas hydrogen has a partial positive charge. Okay, so that's why they develop a dipole. They develop a dipole when this two HCl molecule, when two dipolar molecule when these two dipolar molecules are attracting each other, this is known as dipole-dipole interaction, or you can say Keeson forces. Okay, when two dipolar molecules attract each other, so this is known as dipole-dipole interaction or Keeson forces. Clear?
Yes, miss.
Dipole molecules, what are the dipole molecules? The molecule which have actually polar molecules. Okay, when two polar molecules attract each other, polar molecules have a permanent dipole. Okay, polar molecule may have permanent dipole. So when these two polar molecule, two or more polar molecule actually attract each other, this is known as dipole-dipole interaction. Now 3 is dipole-induced dipole force. Dipole-induced dipole force. Now suppose two molecules are there. One molecule are having one is a polar molecule which have a permanent dipole, and another is a non-polar molecule which obviously non-polar molecule doesn't have permanent dipole, right? So suppose we consider two molecules. This molecule has a permanent dipole. That means it's a polar molecule. It is a polar molecule. Okay, it has a permanent dipole. And suppose it is a molecule which is non-polar molecule. Okay, so this polar molecule which have a permanent dipole try to distort the electron cloud of the non-polar molecule. Okay, when these two molecules came closer to each other, this polar molecule distort the electron cloud, distort the symmetrical charge distribution around the non-polar molecule, and then it's become polar. Okay, so now the non-polar molecule develop a dipole. Okay, because of this dipolar molecule, because of this polar molecule in the non-polar molecule, induced dipole was formed. Now these two molecules will attract each other. So this molecule basically non-polar. This basically non-polar because it's symmetrical charge distribution. It has a symmetrical charge distribution. Okay, but this dipolar molecule make the symmetrical charge distribution distorted, and a dipole has been developed over here. That is an induced dipole. Then these two molecules attract each other. So that means this is known as dipole-induced dipole force. Okay, a polar molecule induced dipole forms a dipole in case of a non-polar molecule, and interaction happens. Okay, so it is induced dipole. And it obviously it has a permanent dipole. And okay, so this attraction force is known as dipole-induced dipole force. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any confusion anyone have? If you have any confusion, you can ask me right now. We have learned today the London force. Okay, that means when two symmetric, we have learned London force today first, where two atoms are firstly they have symmetrical charge distribution. Then for a fraction of a moment, one atom become, and the symmetrical charge distribution become unsymmetrical, and it forms a dipole. These dipoles, actually this is known as instantaneous dipole. This instantaneous dipole actually makes the charge cloud unsymmetrical to its close proximity atom. There is also a dipoles develop, then two atoms attract each other. This is known as London force or dispersion force. Okay, then we have learned dipole-dipole interaction, two permanent polar molecule. Okay, two polar molecule, those have permanent dipole and attract each other. And last we have learned when one molecule have a permanent dipole and another doesn't have, another is non-polar. This permanent dipole molecule induce dipole to the non-polar molecule, then these two attract each other is known as, you can say, dipole induced dipole force. Clear?
Yes, miss.